and welcome to the Change of Plans podcast. I'm Anita Azizi, and this is a podcast where we talk about unexpected turns, bold moves, and what happens when life doesn't go according to plan. Each episode, I sit down with people who've changed careers, taken risks, or completely redefined what success looks to them. We talk about the messy middles, the lessons learned, and why sometimes the best things happen when the plan falls apart. So whether you're in the middle of a pivot, thinking about making a change, or just here for the stories, welcome, and let's get into it. Today's episode is extra special because my guest is not just an incredible comedian, but also my friend Anshita Koul. Anshita's journey is anything but conventional. Originally trained as an engineer, she moved to Germany, worked multiple jobs, and somehow found her way to full-time stand-up comedy. We talk about big life changes, chasing creative careers, and what it really takes to rebuild your life in a completely new country. This episode is warm, personal, and packed with insight, and it's just part one. Next time we'll go deep into the stand-up comedy world itself, but today is all about Anshita's journey. I'm also going to make a short announcement in the end, so make sure to stick around. And now let's get into it. Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Hello.
Making the way all the way from Potsdam to Wedding.
Yes, I'm on tour. Berlin to Potsdam, Potsdam to Wedding. Now back from Wedding to Neukölln. Wow.
It is a tour. Honestly,
it does feel like a tour.
I kind of stopped going. Like, I'm very selective right now if I have to commute for 1 hour. And I'm just not going to go to Neukölln. I'm done. I guess it's enough of commute for a week.
Yeah, this is my second annual visit to Wedding.
You are so rarely in Wedding?
Yes. I think this whole year, this is my second time in Wedding. I came for one show, I think, in Feb or March. And I was like, yeah, I think I'll come back here after a few months, I guess, because it was 1 hour, 10 minutes door to door. That spot. And I think that when I moved to Berlin, I was very I told my partner that I have to find something in Neukölln because most of the mics and the shows are very in Neukölln, Kreuzberg, Prenzlauer Berg, Max. So I need to be able to either walk to my mics or just take one public transport. I don't want to even change connections because I'm getting older.
Yeah, last time I decided not to go to Comedy Bazaar because I was like, it's 1 hour there and 1 hour back.
Fair enough. You don't have to come to my show if it's more than 1 hour.
But the thing is, I love Comedy Bazaar. It's my favorite show. And I've been to a couple of yours, and that is, for some reason, is my favorite.
Thank you. Yeah. I think, I totally understand if someone says it's too far. It's stay home. Find a comedy show near your apartment.
That's why I was so active. Someone from the group texted me I like how proactive you are in the comedy group. And I'm like, okay. But I was super active because I wanted it to happen in Wedding because I didn't want to have to commute there.
Yeah, I can do 1 or 2 shows a year in Wedding.
Thank you. That would be lovely. I'd really appreciate that. How's been your week? Usually I ask I already said in previous episodes, I start my team meetings with what was your highlight of your week or low light of your week? And if you can think of several, if you want to share something.
Oh, I mean, I think the highlight of the week was the sleepover last night at a friend's place. I actually, just on my way here, I was sharing on my Instagram that for last 4 years, without break, December has been an awful. Can I curse on the podcast?
Yeah, we'll just put that it's explicit and it's fine.
All right. This fucking... I don't know. It feels very weird to talk about something that has been bothering me without using fuck.
Fair.
But yeah, the last 4 years, somehow the month of December has been a really, really hard month. The hardest throughout the year. I don't know what happens. But so yeah, I wanted to start my December on a good note and try again this year because I am a relentless bitch. I want to be so badly friends with December. So I think last night we had a sleepover at our friend's place in Potsdam, and it was very nice. We sang songs. We were very emo. We ate a lot of food. So I think that was probably the highlight of the week. What else happened? No, actually, that's it. And I slept a lot last week. I rested a lot. So I think that was also, which is something I don't get very often. So I really value rest now. And I'm becoming that person, who's like, rest is resistance sort of thing. Like, the less I work,
Mm-hmm.
the less I'm contributing to capitalism. Sometimes I tell myself, oh, yeah, Anshita 1, capitalism 0. I don't know. Yeah, so rest and sleepover at friend's place for sure, the highlight.
Nice. Yeah, I think the last week, something is in the stars. That's my new thing. Whenever something goes bad, I'm like, something is in the stars. But last week was generally very tough. Everybody's so angry in the streets. Everybody's so annoying, trying to get into each other's faces. Maybe it's just generally Berlin, but I feel like the last week was extra of that.
Yeah.
So great to hear that you got some rest. I also got some rest. I was sick with corona,
Mm-mm.
and I was so happy about it.
How many times have you gotten COVID?
Second.
Just second?
First time in 2021. 2022, actually,
Wow.
in February. And I was moving apartments, and in that moment I got sick.
Mm.
And it was horrible. And this time I was sick, and then I was walking, and I was like, I'm walking, and I'm having this, like, I have to catch my breath. And that happened only once in my life in 2022. I'm like, let me do the Schnell test. And yeah, but then I got to rest for a week. It went away also quite fast. In 3 days I was already negative.
So the vaccines work.
Yeah.
I also got my COVID flu shot, like an extra shot last month, because I'm traveling soon. So I'm like, let's not risk it.
Have you gotten a flu shot?
No. I think I got the COVID shot, right? Not the flu shot, just the COVID shot.
To get a flu shot.
Yeah, I think I'll get
Which
a flu shot
saved
as
me
well.
last year. I wasn't sick at all.
Mm.
I was horribly sick when I got the flu shot. Like for a week I couldn't get
But
up.
is it like COVID flu shot only works for COVID? Or does it
I think
give
COVID
you
is for
some
COVID
kind
and
of
flu is for flu.
antibodies? I thought maybe they should have a collective or something.
I think
inside.
I saw that Schnell test. You can now do one Schnell test, and it will show you if you have COVID, flu, and like some kind of other things
Ooh.
for €1.
Yeah.
Not bad. Quite a bargain. Okay, why are we talking about COVID?
I don't know.
Nicole asked what we're going to record about. And yes, the podcast is called Change of Plans, but it doesn't mean we have to talk only about the career. I'm just generally very excited to talk about someone who I have closer relationship than a colleague, and just generally very fun and warm person.
Oh,
So we can make the episode whatever you feel like making it. You can also tell me which questions I ask, and then you don't want to answer them. It's also fine with me.
okay.
But I think we might as well just start with careers.
Yes.
I stalked you, or rather, I asked ChatGPT to stalk you. And based on ChatGPT, it called you a comedian focused on decolonization of comedy, and then Funny Woman of the Year 2022, from what I remember. And then there was like that you produced 2 shows, which was wrong, which was Comedy Bazaar and
Word on the street.
yeah, it didn't cut other shows.
Okay.
And I think that's it. But I also know that you are trained as an engineer. I know that you worked as a tour guide in Cologne, and I know that you're a comedian. And based on your Instagram story, I know that there is a backup career where you listen to people talking on the laptop. I'm not even sure.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on this bullet point?
I don't know. I have had so many change of careers over the years that I feel like now that I have sort of found my place in comedy, where I see myself most of the time focused on comedy as my main career. But I do sometimes feel like that's not me. I should change my career. You know what I mean? Because I've changed it so many times. I should not get stuck at one place. I think what's next? I keep asking myself. And then I only answer myself is like, write more new jokes, right? Stop quitting comedy, write new jokes. But yeah, I think I started, like I did my graduation, my bachelor's in computer science engineering in India. from Pune University. Um, I often joke about this in my comedy that in India, whatever, especially like the culture, the community I grew up in, engineering was like our, it was like a rite of passage sort of thing. Like everybody does engineering, and you know how you say, like, if you're good at something, don't do it for free. But within our Kashmiri community, we often say, whatever you're good at, do it after your engineering.
Oh my
because
God.
because almost everybody I know, and there is a reason for it's not like just random. There is a political, there is a reason behind why that happens. But long story short, most Kashmiris I know, especially Kashmiri Pandits I know, are engineers. And then I think a lot of them are just doing it for the sake of doing it because they really don't know. Thankfully, with the help of internet now, the new generation can kind of make maybe better informed choices. But I come, as cliche as it sounds, 90s kids, grew up without internet, didn't know what to do. I did casually bring up a lot of times that I want to probably do something where a lot of talking is involved. And I think at that time, when I was 16, 17, the only profession I knew where there's a lot of talking is law. And I would get called out by my family and extended family, not in a good way, but in a bad way, that you argue a lot. So you could possibly become a good lawyer. But they always meant it sarcastically until I started saying that, let's try it. And then they got very upset that, oh, you won't probably find any jobs or whatever.
Oh
And
my
then that
God.
got that dream of, I still think I could have been a fantastic
I think
lawyer.
you could be a great lawyer.
I know, me too, but like, yeah. And that happened. So I did my engineering. Then I worked in IT for about 5.5 years almost. And then I moved to Germany, and I was still kind of on a break. Like, I was taking a little break from my IT career. I was getting some options from my work in India to kind of relocate.
So you came to Germany just to relax, just to chill. There was
No, no,
no,
no, no.
no. Yeah, I was like, weird place to come to chill, but okay.
No, I came for love. Yeah, the way I said it should, if nobody gets it, it was sarcastic. Yeah, I came for love. And I was kind of still on a, how to say, like, I had not completely given up on my IT career,
Hmm.
but I had been working for so long that I needed a little break. So I told my work in India that I will not be relocating to the Dusseldorf office, because there was an option to, relocate to that and continue my IT job. But I told them that I need like 6, 7 months of break. I'm moving to a new country. I need to figure out shit, and I'll get back to you. I never got back to them. Like, I moved there. I moved in
Have they reached
2015.
out?
Huh?
Have they reached out?
I still get like not they particularly, but like I still get emails from LinkedIn about the work that I used to do, because it's still on my LinkedIn, like the whole skill set. It's
Mhm.
just for fun, it's there. And I still get jobs for like programming, and I think that keeps me going. I was like, I should never fall back to this. But yeah, I did not take up that. And instead, I just became a tour guide, and that happened so spontaneously in Cologne, where I moved in Germany.
I'm sorry, how did you just randomly
I went on a
stumbled
tour.
upon becoming a tour guide?
So I was not working.
Uh-huh.
I was on that break, and I was going to live in Cologne with my partner. And I figured out, yeah, let's learn about the city because I'm going to be here. So I took a free walking tour. I
Okay.
just went on the tour as a tourist or a
Small
new.
segue. I went to Cologne in April this year for
Hmm.
2 days for like electrochemical conference. I absolutely hated this city. Absolutely. Because at some point I considered relocating there without even ever being there. I hated it.
Yeah, it's very white. I have to be honest. Like, I think part of the reason why it did not come out earlier is because I was in Cologne. And then I came out in Cologne, and then I moved to Berlin. Because even though Cologne is called the queer capital of Germany, and there is a lot of queer subculture there, but Surprise, I'd never found it. Why? Because I'm not white. Anyway, so yeah, I started working as a tour guide. I went on a walking tour
Mm-hmm.
to learn about Cologne, and I absolutely fell in love with whatever was happening. Like there was storytelling, public speaking. The tour guide was making a lot of jokes, and I was like this is who I am. Like this is I'm this kind of person who can talk to people and make these like jokes and build stories around. And I was learning history, facts, good memory. So I just went up to the guide and said, "Hey, I also want to do this because I live here, so why not?" And most of the tour guides working in that like sort of company, it was a free walking tour,
Mm-hmm.
were students or what do you call people who come for like a semester,
Exchange students.
exchange student. Yeah, exchange students. And so it was not something you can live on, but it was like more of like a little pocket money job.
Mm-hmm.
But also I jumped onto it because I was like, I want to do this. And luckily that day the guide was the boss of the company, so he was taking the tour. So we met, and then he asked me a few questions, and he said, "Yeah, you're like very like good at banter and good at all of these things."
How's it called when like things just come together and it's just
Yeah, it was meant to be.
yeah.
And then, but of course, I went through the training,
Mm-hmm.
and I moved in July 2015. I started working as a tour guide in Cologne in English from September.
Wow.
I had of course learned all the facts about
Mm-hmm.
Cologne. So I think for first 1 year it was a very textbook tour.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started making friends because on the route of the tour, we had different stops like coffee shops,
Mm-hmm.
breweries. I started making friends with them.
Maybe I should do a free tour of Berlin just to meet more people and
Yeah, it's
find more
actually,
places.
I was very like, this was so new for me as someone who had just moved from India. And it also, in a very interesting way, kind of, because I was going through that transformation. It was the first time that I was living away from what was my norm, like family wise, career wise, culture wise. And of course, there is a lot of homesickness. There was a lot of loneliness that I was feeling, a lot of language barrier that I was feeling. I was learning German at the time, but I was feeling all these mixed emotions. And being on the walking tour where there's a group coming from different parts of the world, it kind of felt a little warm. And when I started doing the tours, I think first year it was still like very textbook and very like sometimes people would ask me questions I did not know the answers for, because I have also just moved to Cologne, so I would make up random shit, right? And they would believe me because I still have more experience than them. They're just passing through Cologne, but I live here. Or I would tell them, email me, I'll let you know in 3 weeks. But then more and more years passed, and I became really good at it, and then started training other guides because my tour started becoming a funny tour.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God, I cannot talk about another white man on a statue in the center of a fucking square. Like, I don't care. It was just, always like, if you've seen in Europe, like most European cities have this city center, and there are like these white men on statues or on
In a
horses.
shopping street.
Yeah, and there's a shopping street, and there's a drug alley, like, where you can score drugs. Yeah, it was just like, I was like, I cannot. It's so boring for me. And people who are visiting, they're not going to remember all of this shit, right? So, what I started doing is I started finding out all the problematic shit these guys did. And I started joking about it. Like, oh my God, look at this guy. He's on a horse now. Everybody's like, whoa, but you know what he did? And people started remembering that. And I started doing like this whole satire, storytelling, comedy kind of thing on my tours, and started getting really good TripAdvisor reviews. And it started becoming my own thing. And then one time, I've met more than 3,000, 4,000 people on my tour. Meeting other people coming from different backgrounds also very like opened my mind a lot. Like my world was opening up, and this is the first time I'm meeting so many different people with so many different cultures. And they would ask me questions, or they would sometimes share, sometimes trauma dump shit on me. Somebody is running from a divorce and randomly finding themselves in Cologne and on a tour. Somebody is on a solo trip. There was this one Indian woman on a solo trip all alone, who has been fighting with her family to go on a solo trip, and they have been like worried about her, but she finally did it. So, and then if you would find an Indian tour guide,
Yeah,
and then of course a lot of white people are like, "Oh my God, you're from India. We've been to India," and then they would tell me all those stories to India where they find
I
themselves.
don't know, like whenever I meet some people, and it's also only happened, to be honest, with Americans. Like I only have like score for Americans. Whenever I say, yeah, I'm from Kazakhstan. Oh, you're a third person from Kazakhstan I've met. Like, do they keep a score? Do you think that you have like a punch card? Do you get like the 10th Kazakh person for free? What is that?
That's a good one. Yeah. Like, I think in the beginning, I was very polite because I was also going through that, that phase where I was happy about a lot of things in my life because I was unlearning a lot of, like, one of the things which is both a pro and a con in this situation was coming from India to a place like Germany. In India, like, you're surrounded by people in all directions.
Mhm.
Like, you look left, right, up, down, behind, in front. There are people always. But moving and then there's nobody around you. It was a bit scary as well, lonely as well, but at the same time very liberating for me because I could finally like have a heart to heart with myself.
Mhm.
I could listen to my inner voices. I could understand myself more because there's less interference. So that really helped. So I was in that mode. But then when this started becoming my normal, then I started like seeing like if somebody would come and it's like, oh my God, it's like relax, it's fine. There are people from India who are tour guides. You don't have to lose your shit. I've been doing this for 2 years. You don't have to lose your shit because I mean Indians on my tour would lose their shit the most because they had never seen an Indian tour guide like this. There are Indian tour guides in India,
Mhm.
but we don't have that culture where you would
Outspoken,
pay a
funny.
tour guide to give you a tour and learn about facts and things like that. But
Are people generous with tipping?
tours?
Yeah.
No, because it's a walking tour, so you're always walking.
No, but like tipping?
Tipping.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I had the whole I had the whole spiel of how to ask for tips, and then I also observed like who tips the most, who's a little bit cringy, or who like I mean it was genuine. Like if there is a students and non-working people usually go for free walking tours because they can get to know a little bit about the city without having to pay anything. But then there would be people who can pay, but they would be a little, no, I'm not going to pay. And then I had a whole spiel about it. When I was training the other guides, this was the most common question that a lot of people felt embarrassed about asking for tips at the end of the tour. And I was a bit shameless about that. So I would make all these jokes, now comes that part of the tour where you all pretend that nothing happened for like 3 hours. We don't know each other, and you slowly start slipping away, fading away. I will find you. Like, I will do all of that shit. If you don't know what to tip, take out your wallet, take out 10 euros, give me your fucking wallet. So I would kind of guilt. If you're going to give me coins, please don't. I have a lot of my own. Like, I need like bills. I need bills. So I would make all these jokes, and I think some people would feel pressured. People who did not have money, they would not be convinced by this fucking
Do
routine.
the walk-in tourists tip more than comedy audience?
So the thing is, there is no tipping culture in comedy. Like,
I mean, okay, donation.
donation based, yes. I think it's the same thing. For example, I would say that it was established, when people usually find it on Google, right? The walking tour. So it's always usually it's established suggested donation is like, if you're a student, 5 to 10 or 10 to 15. So if there is someone who can afford 10 euros but can also afford 15, if they have a good time on the tour, they would give 15. If they have an average time on the tour, they would still give 10 because they can afford it and they can see like, we've been walking for 2.5, 3 hours. If you're a student, it didn't matter. Like you have 2 euros, you will give 2 euros. Like, so that, but I started learning the patterns of also like, I had Germans on my tour, and a lot of times, because they would not react at all. So you would never know.
Terrifying.
Doing the tours with
Terrifying.
German people on the tour really helped me to do comedy in Germany because I understood the psych. Like, for example, they would not engage. They would not show me any reaction during the tour, which would make me feel like they're having a terrible time and they just want to quit the tour. But nobody ever quit the tour. They would stay till the end and then they would come and shake hands and really tip well because they had so much fun. I was like, why didn't you fucking show it on your face then? Why did I have to feel anxious throughout the 2.5 hours, even when you were having fun? Your fun equal to my anxiety. How does that work, right? So I get very like, I was like, what? But then I think I accepted that with a lot of different people from different cultures. How would they tip? How would they react? I started observing that, and I think one time I got this TripAdvisor review that this wasn't a walking tour, it was a stand-up comedy show. And that really, put some kind of idea in my brain. And the more I started digging into that idea, I realized that a lot of people were like, oh, you should be doing stand-up.
Wait, but that was way before you started doing stand-up. I thought you already did stand-up in India and then came to Germany.
No,
and
no,
kinda
no, no.
carried on.
I first, so engineering, then tour guide, then I started my YouTube channel. So I started doing sketch comedy. Then tour guide and YouTube was going hand in hand, but I was also broke. So I needed to pay some bills.
So you had to move to Berlin?
No, in Cologne only I took up another job, which was content writing. So what I started doing was I was doing 3 different things in a week, which is why I burned out. So I was making a weekly YouTube channel. I did that for a year and a half without break, every week, one video on my YouTube channel.
Okay, the aspiration for this podcast was one hour episode per 2 weeks. It hold for 2 weeks, for 2 episodes, so for a month. And I think now I'm gonna switch. I just cannot. I cannot imagine doing this weekly.
I did that, but I mean, that's the reason I couldn't continue is because it was a lot. I think I was in a very positive headspace. I had this really restless, creative energy coming out, bursting out from everywhere. I was feeling healthy physically, mentally also. And I was in this, bubble of my head that, oh, I can do fucking anything. And I was working as a tour guide, creating a weekly YouTube channel, video for my channel. And I was also working part-time 20 hours a week at this startup in Cologne where I would do content writing and I wrote horoscopes for a living. And
what?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
From writing code to writing horoscopes.
Well, I remember. I think there was one of your stand-ups. I think there
Yeah.
was a joke about this. Was there any science behind it, or did you just come up with
No, it's all
random
bullshit.
Stuff?
So
I'm hurt. There's one YouTube channel where there's a woman and she does monthly horoscopes, and I watch it for my sign. And
I can do that for you.
No, I don't trust you.
I can do that for you. I mean, I remember in school being obsessed with Linda's Goodman and being like, oh my god. And also I was raised in a Hindu family where astrology was on 24 fucking 7.
Yeah, that's great.
And and a lot of times it was used against you. It made me really, anything bad would happen, you'll be like, oh, it's because where's the fucking accountability? Where are you when are you going to admit that you might have also played a role? And it makes you, yeah. And then there are so many superstitions that started around the whole fucking astrology things. I remember that, so I was a really good student in school. And every time I would, I was sick, my family would be like, oh, it's an evil eye. It's because your Mercury is somewhere, so there's an evil eye and this and that. And I think it was just peer pressure. It was just school pressure, just fucking sit down and talk to me for 10 minutes. And I would not need 2 rings, 1 locket, and 1 holy mantra over my head. So I think I got very... I had to follow it because my mom really, really believes in astrology. So I had to follow it. I did not feel like I have much of a choice opposing it, but I started making jokes about it.
Mm-hmm.
So when 2 decades later I started writing horoscopes, I had so much fun with it because I would write bullshit, right?
Would you write good stuff for people or bad
Of course,
stuff?
good stuff. Like
Okay.
the company's logo was make people smile. I was like, I have no other
Okay.
choice. But the company also made quizzes. The
Yeah,
BuzzFeed
yeah.
style quizzes.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very used to doing these quick quizzes with one word results.
Mm.
Which you can use on your phone
Mm-hmm.
because they were user friendly. And when I came in, and because I started writing emo stuff, which kind of worked. The funny thing is, their audience was American housewives.
What a weird startup to have in Cologne, but
And they
okay.
were doing really good because American housewives are obsessed with astrology and quizzes. And it was very easy to create that content for that target audience. And I think the first year of me at that job, all of it felt so easy for me. So I never really, thought about like if I'm adding anything or what. And it was mostly for me to make some bills. So I did not pay attention to it. My main focus was always on my YouTube channel and then working as a tour guide and then this thing. But then they started doing all these quizzes and I became a really good, like one of their top writers, authors. And then I saw that they do all these quizzes. So I proposed that we should do a quiz where the answer is not a word but a paragraph,
Mm.
because I personally can't small talk. I don't like small talk. Like that, I think you know that. So
Yeah, I think that's why we clicked because I
yeah,
also cannot small talk.
so I can't do that. So I will go into details. I was like, I will never, I don't want to take a quiz and it's like, oh, what is the color of your soul? And then the answer is red, right? It's because you're passionate, you're beautiful. Like all of these stupid ass quizzes. I was like, people want to read a lot about themselves. We are
Mm.
very like narcissist and
Mm-hmm.
self-centered like that. So we want to read shit. So and then they gave, because it's a startup, they gave me the creative freedom of
Mm.
like creating a quiz where the answer is like very long. Like there were questions about, oh, it's not user friendly because on mobile you have to scroll down, nobody scrolls down. All content should be basically, you should be able to see everything in one screen
Mm-hmm.
rather than scrolling down,
Mm-hmm.
because attention span is less these days. So if you have to scroll down, then
Mm.
it's gone. And I was like, no, I disagree. I think people still want to read. If as long as it's about them, they will read it. They will scroll down to the depths. And I wrote this one quiz that was their most viral quiz ever. And the quiz was called Who Are You Really? And I joke about this in my comedy, how I wrote this quiz, what was my process behind it. And I think I did that for also 2.5 years. And then they asked me to join full time. And I was like, that's it, I'm out. I can't. Do you like, I think I remember like joking with the person, because again, it was a startup culture. I remember joking with the person saying that, do you really believe in the work you do? Like, because I don't believe in this work. I'm only doing this to make some money.
Mm.
This is not meaningful work. So I think I started telling that. And it was around the same time I had kind of started doing stand up. And they knew, okay, she's joking. But I think I offended a few people there. And that's when I went to India in 2017. I did stand up for the first time. I came back. I was kind of in this really, what do you say, like a restless, miserable space professionally in my life, where I was doing so many different things. Like I was tour guide, I was making videos on YouTube, just started doing stand up, and I was doing this job. And I could not like kind of figure out what is the most important thing for me, because the job that helps me pay my bills is also very important, but the job that gives me satisfaction, which is being a tour guide, does not pay enough. And it's a hard job, but it pays so less. And then YouTube pays nothing, but and there's so much that goes out of me. And stand up is something I just started. I did not have the vision at the time that I would be doing comedy full time one day, because stand up is not a career you start with. Stand up is a career you build over time. Like 10 years after 10 years in stand up, you can say, oh, I'm a stand up comedian. I did not call myself a stand up comedian for the first 5 years in comedy. I would just call myself an open micer, because I was still building material. And even though I did a TV show, which was like a reality thing that happened, which also kind of I think that put me on a detour, because my introduction to stand up was not like how you did or people should actually do, which is go to open mics, slowly build material. I had done one open mic and then I was on a TV show
Mhm.
in India. So I was bombing on TV. I was not bombing in open mics where there are 5 people in the audience. Nobody gives a shit about you. I was bombing on Indian national television where all my friends and family gathered, neighborhoods, to watch me do stand up, where I talk about sexual frustration. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with her? Where is this coming from? She was her beloved daughter, devoted daughter. And now she's like, my pussy, my vagina, why this? Like, I think it just scandalized my entire life. And I started doing stand up when I turned 30. So,
Mm.
and so everybody was expecting me to make babies, started making jokes instead. They're like, what is this weird career progression you have, right? So I think it was the same time. I was so broke because I went to India on limited savings, came back to Germany. So I was doing a lot of India, Germany,
Mhm.
which was very expensive.
Mm.
And I was broke. So I was borrowing money from friends, from my partner. So I started accumulating a lot of debt, so kind of very absolutely lost. Like,
Mhm.
what do I really want to do? I have to pick one thing and stick to it. But at the same time, like, I needed that flexibility. And the stand up thing suddenly happened and it like fucked my brain space, because I was like, okay, I was on television. So there's a little bit of fame that comes, and everybody's like, oh, you can, I think you're really good at it. If this is your first time, you're very good at it. You should pursue it more. But to pursue stand up, you need money or wealth
Or time or
time.
resources. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have a full-time job, it's very hard to build material. If you have a part-time job, you need to have access to open mics. In Cologne, there was one open mic in English once a month, run by a German man. Like, it's like, come on.
Wow.
That's why I used to come to Berlin, which started adding to the expense, which means I needed that
Mhm.
fucking horoscope job more. And some people saw that, and they kind of convinced me to go full time. So I for 4 months I converted my freelance contract to full time, and I just couldn't handle it, because even though even though I was like, I thought I know the work, but there were some organizational changes and they were expecting me to work a lot, like, from home everywhere. If I would put on something on Instagram, and my supervisor would be like, oh, I saw your Instagram story, maybe you can write a quiz about it. I was like, everything is fucking become, and I did not
Oh my god.
believe in that work even 1%, right? I always felt like this is such a shit work. But anyway, I think, and then after 4 months of that, this is 2019 January, I finally made a decision that I think I'm gonna give 1 or 2 years to just dive into comedy and see what happens. Like, no backup plans, no plan B. Just go into comedy and see what happens. And
How did you? Because for me, it's like I don't know. I when I was writing the questions for you, I'm definitely gonna ask her how she decided to just like go full time comedy. So after I did a workshop with you,
mm,
I will be honest.
mm,
I said to write down jokes 3 times maybe. Once before open mic, before the mic was you,
mm,
and then second time before the open mic.
mm,
Maybe it was just 2 times, not 3.
mm,
But then I also realized like right now I'm super stressed and I just don't like when I'm stressed I cannot write cool stuff. I just don't want to write. And then when it's your job and it kind of your artistry, your material depends on how well are you mentally. And then when you have to like that is also what brings you money. Like that's kind of vicious cycle.
mm. Yeah, I think so. First of all, that's why I said stand up is not a career that you start with. Like, you, I know, we've bored him to death. So I feel like you should not go into stand up thinking that this will become something. So before I decided to give my all to stand up, I was doing stand up for 2 years, 2.5 years already. So I had built already a lot of material, but I had never thought of what it would mean if this is my job. It was just something like I was really good at. And because of the reality TV show I did in India, it happened to me. And because I was already kind of, you can say, exercising my funny bone, my creative energy into something which was comedy most of the times, it was a very natural progression for me to go from sketch comedy on YouTube to stand up comedy. In fact, it was a bit liberating at the time because I hate editing, like we were just talking. I think the worst part about YouTube was the editing part. It wasn't really making videos because I loved that process. So I'm a very process person more than the goal person. I love, like, bringing things together. So I loved writing a script and I had a lot of ideas. I think I had so many ideas. So I was like, oh, I will never run out of ideas if I really want to keep doing this. But I think at some point I burned out because of the editing part. Because I think when I started, nobody took me seriously. Everybody thought, oh, she is just, because my audience was also very Kashmiri, target audience was Kashmiri, or Indian people living all over the world, because I was making videos in my mother tongue, Kashmiri, or in Hindi, or a mix of Hindi English. So that was my audience base. So in the beginning, nobody took me seriously. They thought, oh, she's just moved to Germany. She's probably, has a lot of free time. So she's just making these videos. And that's what I also thought I'm doing. I'm just having fun with it. And some people were engaging. Like I have never felt the need to have like thousands of people as audience. I just need one person. I will perform. So I'm that person. I've always been that person since my childhood. When there was no internet or no something, like I would perform for one person also. So I think that happened, and um, I realized that I will never run out of ideas for a weekly video. But after, I would say, I made 20 videos, people started having opinions, which is like, oh, you should do this, you should not talk about this, you should do that, oh, your sound is bad, oh, your video quality is bad, oh, your editing. And then, of course, I tried to improve it as much as I could. But a lot of people thought that, I have resources available, like I have a whole team. Like I used to get email from people in my hometown while I'm in Germany making these videos. They think I have a company, so they would email me saying, I want a job in your company, I'm a good actor, or I am good writer. So they were applying to work with me on my YouTube channel. I have earned literally like maybe total of 150 euros of after doing YouTube for 2 years in total.
But you had engagement, right, from the audience?
Because the content I was creating was never created before, because that really works for YouTube. But then what happened is, like, there was so much expectation from me as a YouTuber to make really good quality videos. Like, and good editing can make or break your video. Like, that is very important. And that could have been the natural progression. And I tried, tutorials, and I tried to learn editing. It bored the shit out of me. Like, and I think number one rule, which may sound cliche also for me in any of the careers that I've tried doing, is like, if I'm not having fun, I'm out. That has been my number one thing, which is why I've changed careers so many times. Like engineering, no fun at all. Tour guide, I was a tour guide for 6 years. And I think the reason I did that, even though it did not pay as much, or I was so good at it, was because I had so much fun doing that job. It did not pay me in money, but it really helped in shaping the person I am today, the storyteller I am today. And it informs a lot of my comedy, the way you interact with the different group of people. And the job, the horoscope thing and all, it was fun in the beginning, but then started feeling like work. And I refused to consider it as meaningful. Like, how they would... I mean, I understand that they have to run an office, so they would do all these things, meetings, daily meetings, and then emails and teams. But in my head, I was like, but this work is...
Yeah, but honestly, as a person who, because I came like from human rights sector and all of that, and I was like, yeah, the job must be meaningful and like saving people and all of that. And then it almost destroyed me.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I'm like, yeah, it can be meaningless.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't want to spend really 8 hours of working day.
Yeah.
I'd go for much less. But right now, for example, not that I don't care about my work, but I don't align my value to this work. Actually, one reason why I started this podcast was to have something outside of work to dedicate myself to, which is difficult because I don't get feedback on my work at all. Like, honestly, I get some comments from my friends who listen to the episodes, which I'm super surprised that someone who knows me in real life would actually go and listen to me talking.
Yeah.
I don't know, weird. But for example, with stand-up, you get instant feedback.
Yeah,
and you
I think that's
instant
what
endorphin.
Also pushed me to it. I don't have to edit it. I think my first reason to do stand-up is like, I don't have to edit this. I just have to go. People will love it or not love it, and they will probably be not assholes about it like people are in the YouTube comment sections because they can.
Yeah.
In person, they can usually just say, not just laugh. That's enough for me, right?
At this point, if someone comments on Spotify, that episode sucked and don't ever do episodes again, I'd be like, yay, feedback.
Yeah, exactly. Someone is listening. Someone is paying attention. What? Yeah. It's like, I think, so for me also, I feel like, but I'm telling you, I was a very different person back then. I was still in a lot of cultural shocks. I was unlearning a lot of things, and everything I was doing was kind of helping me, but I was also soon. What happened is, like, the moment I switched from engineering to becoming something in the field of arts and humanities, like tour guide, comedy, then it started changing me on a very different level. Like, the moving to Germany and, having this space and privilege to kind of, sit down with my own thoughts and all was good. And I felt a bit free in the beginning. Also, like, small things like wearing whatever you want, and in the summers, I'm very pro nudity, so I was like, also, like, it's so hot and I can wear whatever, I don't have to wear bra. Like, small things like these really kind of made me feel very free. It's only when I started working as an artist I understood the nuance of, like, it's mostly the privilege, not the freedom that I'm feeling. And then as an artist, I think a lot of things that have been suppressed inside started coming out. And that was a very deep level change I went through. It changed me, like, not just as a person, but the value system. Like, I started reevaluating everything, like, what I have always believed in, what do I want to do comedy about, because once I made the decision to try a full year of comedy, I kind of started treating it as a job. Like, I started taking comedy seriously, ironically. Before that, it was just like, going on stage, joking, sometimes also picking low-hanging fruits. It's just about making people laugh. And you come back home with that high, oh, I made people laugh. But it was very surface level. But then when I started doing comedy, as in I really want to become a comedian, full-time comedian, then I became even more sensitive to things around me. Like, and I always say this, like, comedians may tend to act like they're very edgy and they don't give a shit. But I've never met anyone who's more sensitive than a comedian. Especially male comedians are the most sensitive people.
And that's part one of my conversation with Anshita Koul. We covered so much, from living behind a stable career to finding a way into a comedy stage. Make sure to tune in for part 2, where we go deep into the world of stand-up comedy, what works, what doesn't, and what really goes on behind the scenes. Before we wrap up, a quick note. I'm now taking on freelance projects, and if you or someone you know needs help with financial management, operations, public funding, public speaking, or podcasting, let's talk. And if you found me through this podcast, let's make it even sweeter, and I'll throw in a discount. Thank you so much for listening. As always, your feedback is much appreciated. Till next time.